Well, it really is impossible. I mean, really impossible to describe the hole in America's soul at the end of the 1960s, the decade of assassinations. Civil rights leader Medgar Evers assassinated in his driveway in Mississippi with his children watching in 1963. Malcolm X assassinated in 1965. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated in April of 1968. The assassination decade was bookended by the two white assassinations in the same family. President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963, and his little brother, the 42-year-old presidential candidate Bobby Kennedy, on June 5th, 1968, just weeks after Martin Luther King was assassinated. If you lived it, if you lived all of that, you knew what that hole in the soul felt like. If you were born after that, you're lucky. The first and only time I saw the nuns at St. Brendan's Elementary School in Boston cry was when they told us President Kennedy had just been killed and they were sending us home. We were all crying in our orderly little lines leaving St. Brendan's School that day, and everyone we saw on the way home in Boston was crying. Police officers in uniform crying, men carrying their toolboxes home and crying, our mothers crying, grandmothers crying. And so for millions of Americans and millions more people around the world since that day, in 1963, the word Kennedy has always had an edge of sadness to it, as it very much did today, when the only living Kennedy who can legitimately invoke her assassinated father, President Kennedy, and her assassinated uncle, Bobby Kennedy, and her only uncle who lived a long life, Ted Kennedy, to condemn her cousin, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as a predator, unqualified to serve as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. It was the most important and indeed historic public statement made by anyone about any Trump nominee. And at the White House press briefing today, Donald Trump's new White House press secretary, the youngest in history at 27 years old, did not get a single question about it, not one. President Kennedy's daughter, who has served as an ambassador twice, confirmed by the United States Senate unanimously twice, invokes her father, President John F. Kennedy, her uncle, Senator Robert Kennedy, her uncle, Senator Ted Kennedy, saying that they would be unanimously disgusted by Robert Kennedy Jr.'s exploitation of their memories, and that they would be unanimously disgusted at the idea of Robert Kennedy Jr. serving as Secretary of Health and Human Services. And the White House press corps doesn't ask a single question about that. Not one. Here's a sample of some of the things that the White House press corps said to the White House press secretary, who was more than a week late in delivering her first so-called press briefing. Welcome. You look great. This is true. You're doing a great job. I apologize for interrupting. If I may, secondly, if you're willing, that's how they would do a follow-up. Secondly, if you're willing. It was the most polite session in the White House press briefing room in, let me check, 4 years. Because it is the Trump White House press briefing room, there will be no screaming. The White House press corps will all sound like reasonable adults, and some of them will sound like fawning fans of the press secretary and the president. Because the White House press corps has a special standard of behavior that they reserve uniquely for the Trump White House. It is actually the standard that I really wish they would use for all other presidents. There really is no reason to ever scream at any White House press secretary. There is no reason to be constantly yelling over each other, which did not happen today. The White House press secretary was asked mostly softball questions, one of which allowed her to say that she, quote, commits to telling the truth. Having made that commitment to tell the truth, she lied about Donald Trump using the military to turn on a source of water in California. The California Department of Water today posted this, saying the military did not enter California. The federal government restarted federal water pumps after they were offline for maintenance for 3 days. State water supplies in Southern California remain plentiful. So chalk that up as a Donald Trump and press secretary lie. When the press secretary was asked if Donald Trump's illegal federal spending freeze, which was blocked by a federal judge later in the day, applied to Medicaid, she clearly had absolutely no idea. And there is no indication that she knows what Medicaid is. Not a single question about the detailed description of how unfit to serve Robert Kennedy Jr. is, a description offered today by his cousin who has known him her entire life. Caroline Kennedy didn't want to do this. She didn't want it to come to this. She was surely hoping that the Robert Kennedy Jr. nomination would go the way of the Matt Gaetz nomination and collapse under its own preposterous weight long before Robert Kennedy Jr. made it to a Senate confirmation hearing, which is scheduled for him tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the Senate Finance Committee. Caroline is the only one of the Kennedy cousins who lived in the White House. She was, for those 1,000 days, the most famous little girl in the world. But she didn't know she was famous, and she never sought the bright light of fame after her father's funeral. Her mother, Jacqueline, took steps to protect her and her little brother, John Kennedy Jr., from what she saw as the dangerous influences that were loose in the Kennedy clan as the kids were growing up. And so, unlike Robert Kennedy Jr., Caroline Kennedy was never arrested. Unlike Robert Kennedy Jr., Caroline Kennedy was never a heroin addict. Unlike Robert Kennedy Jr., Caroline Kennedy was never trying to lure her Kennedy cousins into drug addiction. Caroline Kennedy spoke of those poisonous aspects of the Kennedy cousinhood today, assigning her cousin Robert Kennedy Jr. the key role in luring his younger siblings into drug use with him. In her letter, Caroline Kennedy said, "I watched his younger brothers and cousins follow him down the path of drug addiction." She did not mention names, but she did say that those siblings and cousins, quote, suffered addiction, illness, and death by following the example of Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s younger brother, David Kennedy, was found dead of a drug overdose in a hotel room in Palm Beach, in Florida, in 1984. Today, Caroline Kennedy blamed Robert Kennedy Jr. for that death and thousands of other deaths because of his lies about vaccines and public health protocols. And there was not a single question about that at the White House press briefing today. There is a lot of public evidence and proof already available for everything that Caroline Kennedy said today. As I mentioned before, Kurt Anderson appeared on this program last year describing how Robert Kennedy Jr. was his cocaine dealer. He bought cocaine from Robert Kennedy in Robert Kennedy's dorm room in Harvard College. I described once on this program last year being in a class with Robert Kennedy Jr. in college where he couldn't hold his head up in the classroom, could never hold his head up. And I had no idea then that he was a heroin addict, as he has since confessed being a heroin addict starting in high school all the way through college and law school. You know, that period when he could have gone to medical school and actually become a medical expert. He was a heroin addict instead. You don't need an FBI background check to know that Robert Kennedy Jr. is a dangerous person who lives on the exploitation of his father's name and has never made an inch of progress in his life without cashing in on the currency of Kennedy fame. I never expected to hear that publicly from Caroline Kennedy, whose lifetime of public dignity has been flawless. Caroline Kennedy, addressed her letter to the top Democrat and Republican on both the Senate Finance Committee and the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Since Robert Kennedy Jr. will have confirmation hearings in each one of those committees beginning tomorrow, because each committee has some jurisdiction over the Health and Human Services Department. Caroline Kennedy also released a video of her own reading of that letter to the Senate. This was yet another day of sadness for Caroline Kennedy. But her emotional control in reading that letter was strict and unflinching. If you know the Kennedy history, you wouldn't be able to read her words without crying, but she did. This is what Caroline Kennedy, daughter of President Kennedy, who would be so proud to know that she became Ambassador Kennedy, said to the United States Senate today.
Dear Senators, throughout the past year, people have asked for my thoughts about my cousin Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his presidential campaign. I did not comment, not only because I was serving in a government position as United States Ambassador to Australia, but because I have never wanted to speak publicly about my family members and their challenges. We are a close generation of 28 cousins who have been through a lot together. We know how hard it's been, and we are always there for each other. But now that Bobby has been nominated by President Trump to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, a position that would put him in charge of the health of the American people, I feel an obligation to speak out. Overseeing the FDA, the NIH, the CDC, and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, agencies that are charged with protecting the most vulnerable among us, is an enormous responsibility and one that Bobby is unqualified to fill. He lacks any relevant government, financial, management, or medical experience. His views on vaccines are dangerous and willfully misinformed. These facts alone should be disqualifying. But he has personal qualities related to this job, which for me pose even greater concern. I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator. He's always been charismatic, able to attract others through the strength of his personality, his willingness to take risks and break the rules. I watch his younger brothers and cousins follow him down the path of drug addiction. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action, where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in a blender to feed to his hawks. It was often a perverse scene of despair and violence. That was a long time ago, and people can change. Through his own strength and the many second chances he was given by people who felt sorry for the boy who lost his father, Bobby was able to pull himself out of illness and disease. I admire the discipline that took and the continuing commitment it requires. But siblings and cousins who Bobby encouraged down the path of substance abuse suffered addiction, illness, and death, while Bobby has gone on to misrepresent, lie, and cheat his way through life. Today, while he may encourage a younger generation to attend AA meetings, Bobby is addicted to attention and power. Bobby preys on the desperation of parents of sick children, vaccinating his own kids while building a following hypocritically discouraging other parents from vaccinating theirs. Even before he fills this job, his constant denigration of our healthcare system and the conspiratorial half-truths he's told about vaccines, including in connection with Samoa's deadly 2019 outbreak of measles, have cost lives. And now we know that Bobby's crusade against vaccination has benefited him in other ways too. His ethics report makes clear that he will keep his financial stake in a lawsuit against an HPV vaccine. In other words, Bobby is willing to profit and enrich himself by denying access to a vaccine that can prevent almost all forms of cervical cancer and has already been safely administered to millions of boys and girls. During my time in Australia, I worked on the Quad Cancer Initiative, and I learned that cervical cancer is among the top 3 forms of cancer among women in a majority of countries. Tragically, every year, more than 200,000 children lose their mothers. They are orphaned due to a lack of vaccines and screening. Those are the real-world consequences of Bobby's irresponsible beliefs. We are a close family, and none of that is easy to say. It also wasn't easy to remain silent last year when Bobby expropriated my father's image and distorted President Kennedy's legacy to advance his own failed presidential campaign, and then groveled to Donald Trump for a job. Bobby continues to grandstand off my father's assassination and that of his own father. It's incomprehensible to me that someone who is willing to exploit their own painful family tragedies for publicity would be put in charge of America's life and death situations. Unlike Bobby, I try not to speak for my father, but I am certain that he and my Uncle Bobby, who gave their lives in public service to our country, and my Uncle Teddy, who devoted his long Senate career to the cause of improving health care, would be disgusted. The American healthcare system, for all its flaws, is the envy of the world. Its doctors and nurses, researchers, scientists, and caregivers are the most dedicated people I know. Every day they give their lives to heal and save others. They deserve a knowledgeable leader who is committed to evidence and excellence. They deserve a secretary committed to advancing cutting-edge medicine to save lives, not to rejecting the advances we have already made. They deserve a stable, moral, and ethical person at the helm of this crucial agency. They deserve better than Bobby Kennedy, and so do the rest of us. I urge the Senate to reject his nomination.